Following the Second World War, there was a clear disparity between the United States and China socioeconomically, specifically regarding life expectancy and family size. Over the next half century, while the USA reaped the benefits of economic expansion through technological advancement and favorably low interest rates, the Chinese government experienced a complete communist overhaul before slowly evolving to become the world power it is today. Despite very different histories, China has leveled with the United States, and we're going to explain how with the help of Gapminder data.
In 1952, Chairman Mao announced his five-year plan to the world, a plan of collectivization and the abolishment of private enterprise, with the goal of catching up to the United States and Great Britain's economic power and subsequent international prestige. He created a five-year plan in which China would rely on previous year's successful harvests and give up agricultural farming to focus on steel, coal, and iron production. His goal was to catch up with and exceed the United Kingdom and the United States in the next 15 years. The ownership of private land and private farming were both completely abolished. All laborers were divided up into communes and aimed at maximizing efficiency. Mao also required the establishment of backyard steel furnaces in every commune to increase steel production. This plan was made by politicians and policymakers who had very little knowledge of manufacturing. A majority of workers were reallocated from agricultural farms to steel and grain for profit. The depletion of farmers left the growing Chinese population with a lack of food. Mao's expectation to use the Chinese population as a labor force disregarded skill and the foundation of the Chinese agrarian economy. According to Chairman Mao, the five-year plan would have brought China up into the top left corner of the graph, along with the US and the UK, a spot that indicates a high life expectancy and a lower total fertility rate seen in many higher-income countries. High-income countries such as the UK and the United States are characterized by high life expectancy and small families due to better health care and access to birth control. Lower-income countries experience the opposite and have many large families with a lower life expectancy. These countries have larger families for various reasons, including lack of birth control and need for more children to help the family financially.
Although Mao desired to boost China's economy, that is not what happened, and the effects of his failure are illustrated through drops in both life expectancy and in total fertility in China. These drops in the graph reflect the Great Chinese Famine that was caused by Mao's five-year plan. The Great Chinese Famine lasted for three extremely brutal years from 1959 to 1961. Extreme poverty and starvation led to people eating bark from trees, their animals, the dead, and even family members. There was a complete lack of food due to a huge drop in aggregate food production and the government procurement from rural areas. The Chinese government went to extreme lengths to enforce Mao's five-year plan and even tortured people or buried them alive when they begged for or stole food. Those that did not give up farming were taken away and put into working camps. The exact death toll is unclear due to China's effort to cover up the extreme hardships of this time period, but experts estimate that it ranges from 40 to 70 million deaths within 3 years, more than the Holocaust. The Great Famine has killed more people than any other famine in history, and is unique in that this famine was man-made and political. This 3-year period remains a taboo in China today, and is labeled euphemistically as the 3 years of difficulties. The effects of the famine can be seen on the graph. During the 3 worst years of the famine, from 1959 to 61, the Chinese total fertility went from 5.5 children per woman in 1958 to 4.3 children in 1959, and the lowest in 1961 at 3.3 children per woman.
Following the Great Chinese Famine, Chairman Mao sought to completely purge China of any remnants of Western ideology. This complete rejection of free market capitalism and of democracy lasted about 10 years until Mao Zedong died on September 9, 1976. Following Mao's death, there was a brief period under the leadership of Huo Guofang before Deng Xiaoping returned from Taiwan to restore China. Under Xiaoping's return, he reestablished diplomatic relations with the United States and Canada and executed a plan of 4 modernizations aimed at cultivating economic growth in agriculture, industry, national defense, and science and technology. A more open Chinese market allowed for foreign investment and increased imports and exports that allowed for a tech boom in China.
Despite China's growing economy, the country was strained due to an increasingly large population. To counteract this, in 1979, the Chinese government introduced the one-child policy, where families were restricted in most cases to one child through fines, sterilizations, and abortions. Recently, the policy has been relaxed as a way of countering the aging workforce in China. Throughout the last 2 decades of the 20th century, the Chinese government fostered entrepreneurship, established a limited free market, eliminated price floors, and abolished trade barriers. China chased the United States in GDP up until the 2008 economic crisis that saw their real GDP fall consistently for 3 straight years. China implemented an intensive stimulus package and adjusted monetary policy, while the United States housing market collapsed along with big banks and unemployment surpassed 10%.
Surpassed the United States in GDP. If China continues along their path of growth, they will soon surpass the United States in life expectancy, which is closely linked to GDP and higher standards of living. In regards to total fertility, we can predict that China's total fertility will increase due to the abolishment of the one-child policy by 2016. This contrast of a high-income country with a relatively high total fertility will be interesting to observe in the future.